Chapter 1: The Club. The call came at 11:40 p.m. No message. Just Damien's name lighting up my phone like a flare I already knew better than to ignore. I answered on the second ring. "Come to Vesper Club. Now." His voice was sharp, uninterested. I opened my mouth to ask if everything was all right. "Right now, Ethan." Click. Just like that. It was raining by the time I got there. My coat clung to my skin, and my shoes squelched with every step. The bouncers at Vesper didn't say a word when I walked past them. They didn't need to. Everyone here knew who I was. Damien Cross's assistant. His pet. His whatever he felt like that day. I pushed open the door to the VIP suite upstairs. The lighting was low, and the air smelled like expensive whiskey and cheap cologne. Laughter echoed off the walls. Loud. Performative. Damien sat at the head of the table, surrounded by half a dozen men I didn't recognize. He looked good as always, effortlessly sharp. Collar undone, sleeves rolled. He glanced at me for less than a second before speaking. "Finally, my loyal dog shows up," he said. The others laughed. I stood there, dripping wet, jaw clenched. I didn't rise to it. "Apologies, sir." "Sit," he said, patting the chair next to him like I was some obedient mutt. "Drink." There was a glass waiting for me. Red wine. Half full. I didn't move. "I'd rather not," I said quietly. Damien's expression didn't change, but the edge in his voice sharpened. "Don't embarrass me in front of clients. Just do as you're told." He shoved the glass toward me. I should have walked away. I should have said no. But I sat down and took the glass like always. The wine burned more than it should have. The next 10 minutes slipped out from under me. My head fogged over. I could barely focus on the conversations around me, words melting into static. Someone's hand touched my back. I flinched. Another voice close to my ear. "You're prettier than I expected, quiet too. That's nice." The man said. I turned to Damien. "What is this?" He didn't even look at me. "Mr. Choi's here from Seoul. He's been generous. He needs entertainment. We're close to finalizing a multi-million-dollar deal." I stared at him. "What?" Now he looked at me, and that's when it hit me he wasn't angry. He wasn't drunk. He was calm, detached, like I wasn't even human to him. "You always wanted to be useful, didn't you?" he said. Then he smiled at Mr. Choi, and just like that I understood. They took me to a hotel. I don't remember the ride. Everything was spinning. My legs weren't working right. My skin felt like it didn't fit. I remember the elevator. Mr. Choi's hand around my wrist. The door closing behind us. I saw the bed, and something in me snapped. I threw my weight forward and headbutt him as hard as I could. He cursed, stumbled back, and I ran. Down the hall. Down the stairs. I didn't trust the elevator. I didn't trust anything. I burst out into the street. Rain slammed against my face. I kept moving, barefoot now, lungs burning. I had no idea where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. A black car pulled up beside me with a screech. "Ethan?" The voice made me freeze. I turned, blinking through the rain. Julian Ward, neatly pressed as always, like he walked out of a boardroom. He looked at me, really looked at me. His expression shifted from surprise to something I couldn't name. "Get in," he said, and for the first time in hours, I let someone take me somewhere safe. Chapter 2: The Escape. The car was warm. Too warm. The leather seats pressed against my soaked clothes, the heater blasting against my numb skin. I sat there, breathing in slow, ragged gasps while the city blurred past the window. Julian didn't say anything for a while. He just drove. Smooth, calm, like this wasn't completely insane. I glanced sideways. His hands on the wheel were steady. His eyes were on the road. But I could feel it, his mind was on me. "You're bleeding," he said. I looked down. My knuckles were scraped raw. I didn't remember when that happened. "I'm fine." "You're not." I didn't answer. He took me to a high-rise I'd only seen once, from a distance during a shareholder event. Glass everywhere, minimalist design, the kind of place that whispered money with every polished surface. The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent. When the doors opened, I hesitated. My soaked shirt clung to me like shame. "Just come in. No one's here but me," Julian said quietly. I followed. Inside, everything was too clean, like a hotel that no one actually lived in. Sharp lines, soft lights, cold silence. He led me to the guest bathroom, opened a drawer, placed a towel, a t-shirt, a pair of sweatpants down on the counter. "You can shower. Take your time." I just stood there. His hand touched my arm, light, not forceful. But I still flinched. "I won't ask what happened unless you want to tell me," he said. I didn't. Not yet. The shower scalded. I let it. I stood under the water until my skin turned red and the fog on the mirror erased my reflection. It still wasn't enough. Nothing could scrub off the feeling of Damien's voice in my ear. Damien's eyes looking through me like I was nothing. Like I'd always be nothing. Be useful for once. I gripped the edge of the sink and stared at the water swirling down the drain. I should have left years ago. When I came out, Julian was in the kitchen pouring tea. His suit jacket was gone. Shirt sleeves rolled up. "Chamomile didn't know what you liked," he said. "This is fine." My voice sounded thinner than usual. I took the cup, wrapped both hands around it, just to feel something solid. Julian didn't press me with questions. He sat on the opposite end of the couch, a respectable distance away. We both stared out at the skyline. Rain smeared the glass like paint. "Damien did this?" he asked finally. It wasn't a question. I didn't respond. Figures, he's always been a spoiled little tyrant. Thought he could break things and buy replacements. He muttered. "He didn't break me." Julian turned to me. "Are you sure?" I wasn't, but I stayed quiet. He sighed. "You can sleep here. Take the bedroom. I've got meetings early. I won't bother you." I stood to protest, but he waved it off. "I'm not Damien, Ethan. I don't need control to feel powerful." It was almost 3 a.m. when I finally collapsed onto the guest bed. The sheets smelled clean. The pillows were soft. But my body didn't stop shaking. I stared at the ceiling, every muscle tense, waiting for a knock on the door. For Damien's voice. For another order I'd have to obey. But nothing came. Just silence. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't know what to do with it. Chapter 3. The Confrontation. I woke up to sunlight. Sharp, white, too clean. The kind of morning that didn't belong after a night like that. The sheets were tangled around my legs, twisted like I'd fought something in my sleep. Maybe I had. For a minute, I didn't move. I listened. No voices. No footsteps. Just the hum of a quiet apartment and the distant murmur of the city below. I was alone. And yet, my chest felt heavy. The kitchen smelled like coffee. Julian was already dressed. Charcoal blazer, pale shirt, no tie. The picture of composure. He looked up from his phone when I entered. "Morning, there's food if you're up for it," he said. "I'm good. Thanks." My throat still felt tight, like I hadn't swallowed properly in hours. He didn't press it, just nodded. I hovered awkwardly by the kitchen island, unsure what to do with my hands. "Julian, about last night," I said. "You don't owe me anything. I still feel like I should say something." He looked at me for a long moment. "Then say this, that you're not going back to him." I didn't answer. That was all he needed. It happened fast. I heard the elevator before I saw him. A muffled chime, the soft brush of leather soles against marble. I froze. Then I saw him, Damien, storming through the front door like he owned the place. His eyes locked on me instantly. He looked wrong, like something was cracked beneath the surface. Suit wrinkled, jaw tight. And when he saw what I was wearing, Julian's too large t-shirt and borrowed sweatpants, his expression curdled. "What the fuck is this?" Julian didn't move. He leaned against the counter and sipped his coffee like Damien hadn't just shattered the air with his voice. "You're trespassing. Get out," Julian said calmly. "I'm not talking to you." Damien's eyes burned into me. "Ethan, what the hell are you doing here?" My mouth was dry. I forced the words out. "Sleeping, recovering, breathing." That wasn't a question. "And I'm not your property," I said. The silence hit like a gunshot. Damien took one step forward. Julian immediately stepped between us. "You touch him, and I'll have security throw you out like the trash you are," he said. Damien's jaw twitched. "You think this is over? You think I'll just let him disappear into your penthouse like some fucking rescue dog? That's exactly what he is. A dog you kicked one too many times." I stepped around Julian, my voice calm even though my hands were shaking. "Don't come here again, Damien. I quit being your fucking assistant." Damien turned to me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're quitting." "I already did. I'll submit my resignation tomorrow." He stared, like he hadn't heard it, or couldn't process it. "You can't just leave." I laughed once. Bitter. "I just did." He looked at me like I'd betrayed him, like I was the one who crossed a line. His voice dropped low. "You don't get to walk away. You don't get to make a choice here, Ethan." Julian stepped in again, voice tight. "Ethan. Bedroom. Now." "No, I want him to hear this," I said. I walked closer, just enough that he could see I wasn't afraid. "You drugged me. You gave me to someone else like I was a toy you didn't feel like playing with. And now you're angry because I quit being your plaything?" My hands clenched at my sides. "What do you want, Damien? Apology sex? A sob story? A leash and a collar?" He didn't say a word. His fists were clenched, his eyes glassy with rage, or something worse. "You're not God," I whispered. "You don't own me. You never did." Then Julian called security. Damien didn't resist. Not with their hands on his arms. Not as he was dragged to the elevator. But the way he looked at me as the doors closed, that stayed. Not angry. Not shocked. Just wounded. Like I'd ripped out something he didn't know could bleed. I didn't cry after he left. I thought I would. But there was nothing left in me. Just cold. Just silence. And the creeping realization that this wasn't over. Not even close. Chapter 4, Disappearing. I left 2 days later. No announcement. No dramatic goodbyes. Just a quiet morning. A packed duffel bag. And a cab with no forwarding address. Julian offered to put me up longer. He said it without pressure, without strings. But I knew what it meant to owe people. Even the kind ones. Especially the kind ones. So I thanked him and I left. The apartment I found was nothing like Damien's condo or Julian's penthouse. 1 bedroom, no elevator, peeling walls, a bed that squeaked if I so much as breathed too loud. But it was mine. Anonymous. Off the grid. I changed my number. Deleted every app tied to my real identity. Cut the card tied to Damien's expense account into 4 neat pieces and dumped it down a public trash chute. Then I sat in the middle of the floor, lights off, and listened to the silence. No ringing phone. No texts. No instructions barked at me at 2 a.m. Just silence. And the question I didn't want to answer, what now? The days blurred. I applied for jobs under a different name. Took part-time freelance work editing contracts for small tech firms. Nothing with prestige, nothing that would catch attention. I told people my last employer had been a startup that imploded. They didn't ask for references. Smart people never ask too many questions when you're willing to work cheap. I started walking everywhere. Never took the same route twice. Switched grocery stores. Turned down social invites. Shut myself off from everyone. Because somewhere in the back of my mind I knew he was looking. And I didn't know what scared me more. That he might find me. Or that he might not. The first time I saw the car, I told myself it was a coincidence. Black. Sleek. The exact same model Damien used to drive. Parked across from my building. No one inside. The next day it was there again. Different license plate. Same place. I stood at my window for an hour before I drew the curtains shut. It escalated after that. One morning, the front desk guy, a college kid with a nervous smile, mentioned a man asking about me. Tall, dark suit, expensive watch. Didn't leave a name. Just asked if Ethan Lynn still lived in Unit 4B. I told him I'd just moved in. That he must have had the wrong person. Later that night, I found a single white envelope tucked under my door. No return address. Just my name handwritten on the front. Inside, a note. You don't get to run from me. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't report it. What would I even say? That my former boss/secret lover was stalking me after trying to whore me out? There was no proof. No photos. Just a trail of smudged footprints only I could see. So I did what I always do. I endured. 3 weeks passed before I cracked. I was on my way back from a late shift, grocery bag in hand, when I saw him, leaning against the side of my building like he'd been there all day. Damien. Unshaven. No tie. Wrinkled shirt. The version of him no one else ever saw. My throat closed. He pushed off the wall slowly, like we had all the time in the world. I missed you, he said. I didn't move. How did you find me? He didn't answer, just smiled, tired and dangerous. You look thin. Leave. I've been patient, I gave you space. Time to calm down. Time to remember. He said, stepping closer. I'm not coming back. He stopped in front of me. His voice dropped. I can make this easy, Ethan. Or I can make it very, very difficult. I looked him in the eye. I've already survived the worst of you. He flinched. For the first time, Damien looked uncertain, like the reality of losing me was starting to sink in. I walked past him without another word. Into the building. Up the stairs. The entire time, I could feel his gaze on my back like a shadow I'd never be free of. I locked every door. Turned off my phone. Sat on the floor, knees to chest, shaking. And for the first time since I left him, I realized something brutal. This wasn't over. He wasn't letting go. Because in Damien's world, no one leaves. Not really. Chapter 5 Obsession. It started with the job offers drying up. One by one, recruiters stopped replying. Interview emails vanished. A startup I'd done contract work for ghosted me the day after telling me they were excited to move forward. At first, I thought I was just unlucky, or maybe still too raw, too off my game. But then I recognized a name. One of the board members from that startup. He used to play poker with Damien. That's when it clicked. I wasn't just running from a man. I was running from someone with reach, power, a Rolodex that could freeze my life in place with a few quiet phone calls. And he was using it. Every day, the walls closed tighter. Options thinned out. I started counting groceries in coins. Some nights, I skipped dinner just to stretch my rent another week. Damien never touched me, but I could feel him. Everywhere. I texted Julian for the first time since I left his place. He's getting closer. I can't breathe. He responded within a minute. Send me your address. I'll send someone. No. If he knows I asked for help, he'll lose it. You think he hasn't already? I didn't reply, because he was right. One night, I came home and my door was unlocked. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Just unlocked. I stood in the hallway for 15 minutes, holding a can of soup like a weapon, listening to every creak, every gust of wind from the broken stairwell window. Then I walked in. On my bed was a new phone. No SIM card. Just a wallpaper. A photo of me, sleeping. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't recent. I knew that bed. Knew that pillow. Knew the exact corner of Damien's apartment where he must have stood while taking it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat on the floor and stared at it until my limbs went numb. I called him at night. The number was still memorized, even after I'd deleted it. He picked up on the first ring. Ethan. Just my name. Soft. Intimate. Like nothing had ever happened. Stop this, please, I said. My voice shook. I'm not doing anything. You're destroying everything. You left me. You tried to sell me. His silence was louder than shouting. Then, you looked happy with him. With Julian. My chest clenched. So what? You're punishing me for that. I just want you back. No. You want to own me. You always did. Another pause. Then he whispered. I miss your voice in the morning. I miss you sleeping beside me. I miss you breathing in my space like it mattered. Like I mattered. I closed my eyes. He was doing it again. That voice, that tone. The one that made every boundary melt if I let it. You didn't want me. You just didn't want anyone else to have me. I said, barely above a whisper. There was a long, fragile pause. Come home. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. Again, knowing it wouldn't matter. The next day, my landlord called. Rent had been paid. 3 months. In advance. He said it like it was good news. I sat on the floor of my cold apartment and stared at the wall. This wasn't protection. It was a leash. Silk-wrapped and invisible, but a leash all the same. And I didn't know how much longer I could pretend I wasn't still wearing it. Chapter 6, Found. It happened on a Tuesday. The kind of day that pretends to be normal. Clouds sitting too low. Air too quiet. I went to the corner store for bread and toothpaste. I stood in line behind a woman arguing with a cashier about a $2 coupon. I told myself I was okay, that I was surviving. But when I stepped out of the store and saw him standing across the street, leaning against a lamppost like it was any other day, my heart stopped. Damien, black coat, hands in his pockets, watching me like I'd never left, like he belonged there. Our eyes met. I didn't run. I just walked, slow, controlled, like my body wasn't screaming to get away. He didn't follow me on the street. He waited until I got upstairs, until I opened my apartment door, stepped inside, and turned to shut it. He caught it with one hand, pushed it open, walked in, like he still had keys, like he still had permission. Get out, you can't just come here, I said, voice shaking. He looked around like he was inspecting a hotel room someone had trashed. This is where you live now. Ethan, come on, he said. Get out. He stepped closer, slowly, casually, like he didn't just break the last boundary I had left. I missed you. Damien, you've lost weight. Are you eating? His voice softened. I pushed past him and went to the kitchen, hands trembling as I grabbed a glass. I didn't drink the water, I just needed to hold something. Do you know what stalking is? Because what you're doing, it's criminal. I said quietly. He didn't flinch. You think the law scare me? No. I think the law won't do shit unless I show up half dead. I snapped. He moved fast. Too fast. Suddenly he was in front of me, taking the glass from my hands, setting it on the counter. His fingers brushed mine, and my skin recoiled before I could stop it. Don't do that. Don't look at me like I'm some monster, he said low. What should I look at you like? My savior? My lover? My fucking pimp? I shot back. He didn't move, just stared at me like I'd stabbed him in the chest. Then softer. I didn't know the wine was drugged. I blinked. Are you serious? He nodded. I gave you that drink to humiliate you. Not to hurt you like that. Not like that. I laughed. I actually laughed. Is that your defense? That you only meant to sell me out emotionally? His jaw tightened. You weren't supposed to go with him. It was just a scare. A show. You always listen when I push hard enough. You thought I'd thank you for that? Silence. Then, I panicked when you disappeared. I nearly get raped, Damien. You didn't. The way he said it, flat, dismissive, it broke something. I shoved him back. He let me. Get out of my apartment. I paid for this month. I don't care. I've been watching over you. Like a fucking creep. He looked at me then, really looked. No armor. No CEO mask. Just Damien, broken and bleeding behind his eyes. I can't let you go, he said, so quietly I almost missed it. I stared at him. You already did. He left eventually. Didn't say another word. Just walked out, quiet and calm. But I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel anything. Except for one sickening truth wrapping itself around my lungs like a noose. He wasn't trying to win me back. He was trying to erase the part of me that ever left. And if I wasn't careful, he just might succeed. Chapter 7, The Deal. I didn't leave the apartment for 2 days. Curtains closed. Lights off. Phone off. I didn't trust the world outside my door. I trusted the one in my head even less. Because some part of me, some cracked, trembling part, still felt him. Like his presence had sunk into the walls. I was trying to breathe again. Trying to remember who I was before Damien Cross. And then, on the 3rd day, I heard the knock. 3 slow taps. Measured. Deliberate. I froze. Second knock, sharper this time. Confident. arrogant. I didn't need to look through the peephole. I already knew. Damien. I didn't open the door. Go away. He didn't move. I'm not here to argue. Great. Go not argue somewhere else. Silence. Then he said it. He goes to Cambridge West High, right? Luca Lynn. 17. Top of his class. Always walks home alone. Your little brother has your looks, Ethan. My blood turned to ice. You're disgusting. I haven't touched him. Haven't spoken to him. Yet. I opened the door halfway. Left the chain on. My hand gripped the knob so tight my knuckles went white. If you even go near him, I won't. Not if you come back. There it was. Not a plea. A threat disguised as a deal. You've hit a new low, I said. Call it whatever you want. I call it desperation. I looked at him, calm, clean, in control. No apology in his expression. No regret. Just cold calculation softened with a voice I used to mistake for affection. I'm not your puppet. No, you're something worse. You're the one thing I don't know how to live without, he said. I flinched. He saw it. Pushed a black card through the gap in the door. My driver will come in a week. Be ready. Or Luca becomes part of this. Maybe we'll be your replacement. I stared at the card. Then back at him. You're sick. Only for you. And he left. I didn't move for hours. Didn't eat. Didn't sleep. I just sat there, holding the card like it was burning a hole through my palm. He wouldn't hurt Luca. I told myself that. But then again, he'd already hurt me. By the end of the week, I had no real choice. This wasn't about survival. It was about protection. I packed a bag, wrote Luca a message I knew I couldn't explain, and got into the car Damien sent. Chapter 8, Return. The car was silent. Black interior, tinted windows, leather seats that hadn't been sat in since the showroom. Damien's driver didn't speak. He didn't even look at me. Good. I didn't want to be seen right now. I stared out at the city sliding past. Glass towers, yellow lights, streets I used to walk with purpose, now just terrain to be endured. I told myself this was temporary. Just a roof. Just a pause. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I wasn't going back. I was giving in. The condo hadn't changed. Same gray walls. Same cold lighting. Same goddamn marble kitchen island that used to cut into my hip when Damien would bend me over it without a word. But it was cleaner. That's what stood out. There was no mess. No papers on the counter. No half-finished glasses of bourbon. No evidence of Damien's chaos. It looked staged. Like someone had scrubbed the history out of it. Like he was trying to pretend this was a home. He met me at the door. No suit. Just a black sweater and slacks. Barefoot. Casual. Like he was human. His eyes didn't leave me. You came back. I didn't answer. He stepped aside, letting me walk in. The door clicked shut behind me, soft as a sigh. I cleared the second bedroom. It's yours now, he said. You think that makes a difference? No, but it makes something, he said. The guest room was pristine. Neutral. Blank. Bed freshly made. Closet empty. A toothbrush already waiting by the sink. Clothes in my size hanging neatly in the wardrobe, new, expensive, untouched. There was no way he bought these in the last few days. He'd been preparing for this. He knew I'd break. I didn't unpack. I didn't shower. I just sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall until my vision blurred. He didn't bother me that night. No knocks. No footsteps outside the door. No midnight commands. Just silence. And that was worse. Because Damien didn't do silence. Damien did storms. This calm? It wasn't peace. It was the quiet before a quake. Something tightly wound, waiting to snap. The next morning there was breakfast. Eggs. Toast. Tea. Exactly how I liked it. No conversation. Just Damien across from me at the table, reading something on his tablet, pretending we were a married couple in year 7 of a boring but stable life. I hated how easy it was to fall into the routine. Days passed like that. Quiet. Choreographed. He didn't touch me. Didn't order me around. He cooked. Cleaned. Left space. Gave me time. And that scared me more than anything. Because I knew Damien Cross didn't change. He adapted. And whatever this act was, it wasn't kindness. It was strategy. One night, I found him asleep on the couch. TV still playing. A blanket half slid off his chest. He looked softer in sleep. Younger. Almost normal. Almost. I stood there for a long time, watching, wondering, if I asked him to burn the world, would he do it for me? Or because he thought it would keep me beside him? I went back to bed without a word. I didn't sleep. I just laid there, eyes open, listening to the sound of a man pretending not to be a monster, and wondering how long I could keep pretending too. Chapter 9, Domestic Prison. I started counting the days again. Not aloud. Not on paper. Just in my head. Day 5. I made coffee. Damien had already brewed a fresh pot and poured mine without asking. 2 sugars, no cream. Just how I liked it. He smiled when I took it. I didn't smile back. Day 7. He asked if I wanted to go for a drive. I said no. He left alone and came back 3 hours later with a new phone in a box and groceries I hadn't asked for. You don't have to use it, he said, sliding the phone across the counter. Just in case you get lonely. Day 9. I stood in the hallway at night watching him sleep, wondering if I should wake him, ask why he hadn't tried to touch me yet, ask why I was waiting for it like some sick part of me missed it. He never raised his voice, never touched me, never forced a single thing, but I could feel him everywhere. In the perfectly folded towels, the freshly stocked fridge, the constant hum of quiet control dressed up as domesticity. This wasn't love. It was a museum exhibit of the life he thought I wanted. And I was the centerpiece. I started to crack around day 12. I was sitting at the table, eating toast, when I realized I hadn't left the building once since I moved in. Not once. No errands. No walks. No visitors. No one had called, not even Julian. Because they couldn't. Because he had made sure of that. I tested it. Tried to go outside without telling him. Made it to the lobby before the concierge stopped me. Mr. Cross said you weren't to leave alone. I stared at him. I'm not a child. I'm just following instructions, sir. When I got back upstairs, Damien was waiting. Calm. Arms folded. I was going to the cafe. It's 3 blocks away. I said. You should have told me. Why? So you could approve it? I just want to keep you safe. I walked past him. Into my room. Shut the door, and screamed into a pillow until my throat burned. Day 14, I tried again. Snuck out early before he woke up. No one stopped me this time, but when I got to the cafe, he was already there. Waiting at a table. 2 coffees. My seat across from his, untouched. I stared at him through the glass. Turned around. Walked back home in the rain. That night, he knocked on my door. I didn't answer. He opened it anyway. I was curled up in bed, half asleep or pretending to be. He sat down on the edge of the mattress. Not touching. Just there. I know you hate me. I didn't move. I deserve it. Still didn't move. But I can't undo what I've done. I can only keep you safe now. Keep you close. You mean keep me caged? He didn't respond. But he didn't deny it either. That was the moment I realized something brutal. He meant it. All of this. The food. The silence. The isolation. The calm voice. The endless, I only want what's best. It wasn't a game anymore. He truly believed this was love. And maybe the worst part of all, some broken part of me believed it too. Chapter 10, A Way Out. The knock came in the middle of the afternoon. Not the door. The phone. The one Damien gave me. I hadn't touched it in days. It lit up on the counter while I was washing dishes. For a second, I stared at it like it was something dangerous. Then I dried my hands, picked it up, and answered without thinking. Ethan. Julian's voice. I froze. How did you get this number? I have my ways. You okay? I looked over my shoulder. Damien wasn't home. Some meeting. Some trip. Somewhere I hadn't asked about. Define okay. That bad? I don't know. I think I've stopped noticing, I said. He told me he was downstairs. Lobby. Waiting. Said he didn't have much time. Just wanted to talk. I told myself I shouldn't go. that it was a trap, but a different kind of trap than the one I was already in. So I grabbed my coat and took the elevator down. He was sitting near the windows, suit sharp as ever, sunglasses on the table. When he saw me, he stood. For a moment, I didn't move. Then I crossed the lobby slowly and sat across from him. He looked at me like someone measuring a wound. "You've lost weight," he said. "Everyone keeps saying that." He leaned in, voice low. "You look like you're surviving, not living." "I wasn't living before." "No, but at least you had a pulse," he said. He slid something across the table. "A key." I stared at it. "There's a condo in my name half a mile from here. No cameras. No staff. No Damien. If you want out, I can take you tonight," he said. The words didn't hit all at once. They came in pieces, like he was speaking underwater, and my brain was too slow to rise. I looked down at the key. Small. Silver. Harmless. But it felt heavy, like holding a bomb. "You really think I can just leave?" I whispered. "You already did once. I wasn't this far in." Julian's eyes sharpened. "He's isolating you. He's not protecting you. He's burying you." "I know." "Then why are you still there?" "I don't know, because it's quiet. Because I'm tired. Because it hurts less than being alone," I said. I couldn't tell him that I'm doing this to protect my brother. Couldn't. Because it's good for Julian if he stayed out of this mess. He said nothing. He didn't have to. Because he knew what this was now from the things I said. Not just control. Not just fear. Dependency. He reached into his coat and handed me a second phone. "Untraceable. If you change your mind, call me. Don't think. Don't explain. Just go." Then he stood and left without waiting for a response. He never even looked back. I went back upstairs, sat on my bed, put the new phone in a drawer, locked it, stared at the key in my palm until it started to sweat. It wasn't just a way out, but I couldn't take it, knowing that my actions will affect the life of my little brother. Chapter 11: The Explosion. I hid the key under my mattress. I don't know why I didn't throw it away, or use it, or at least move it somewhere less obvious. Maybe I wanted to get caught. Maybe I was hoping I wouldn't have to make the choice myself. Damien came home that night later than usual. Hair damp from the rain. Jacket slung over one arm. He didn't say anything. Just walked past me in the kitchen and headed straight to his room. I thought maybe he's tired. Maybe today would be quiet again. I should have known better. He found the phone first. The one Julian gave me. I heard the drawer open from down the hall. A pause. Then footsteps, measured, deliberate. When I turned, he was already in the doorway, holding it. "Whose is this?" I didn't answer. His voice dropped. "You've been lying to me?" Still, I said nothing. "Who gave it to you?" The silence between us stretched thin and sharp. Then he saw it. The edge of metal poking from beneath the mattress. He walked over, lifted the mattress, found the key, held it up between two fingers like it was a bloody knife. Julian. It wasn't a question. It was a trigger. The next part happened fast. He grabbed his coat. "Phone. Keys." I stepped in front of the door. "Damien, don't." He didn't look at me. "Get out of the way. You don't even know where he is." "Oh, I do." His voice was steady in the worst way. Flat, quiet, like the eye of a hurricane just before it splits everything open. "You're being insane." He looked at me, really looked, and what I saw wasn't rage. It was betrayal, a kind of sadness so deep it had rotted into something else. "You were going to run. Again. You gave me every reason to. I gave you everything. I gave you a second chance." His voice cracked. "A second sentence. That did it." He shoved past me. I followed. "What are you going to do, Damien? Hit him? Drag me back by the wrist like you used to?" He turned. Suddenly, he was in my face, breathing hard, eyes wild. "I would burn this city to the ground before I let him touch you again." There it was. The truth. Ugly. Raw. Obsessive. Not love. Not even close. Just possession carved down to the bone. I didn't flinch. I stared right back. "You don't love me. You just don't want to lose your pet." He went still. Completely. Then, barely above a whisper, "Don't say that." "Why not?" "It's the only honest thing either of us has said since this started." He looked like I'd slapped him, like the last thread holding him together had finally snapped. "I needed you, I still do," he said. "No, you just need control," I said, voice cold. He didn't answer, didn't move, just stood there, shaking, breathing hard, and looking at me like I was both his salvation and his executioner. And maybe I was. He left, slammed the door so hard it rattled the frame. I didn't chase him, didn't even move for a long time, just stood there in the dark, shaking from the aftershock, still holding the phone he'd found. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot, because men like Damien don't fall apart. They come back stronger. And worse. Chapter 12, The Confession. He came back the next morning. I was still awake. I'd been sitting in the kitchen since morning, a half-drunk cup of tea cold beside me, the apartment too quiet to feel real. I kept expecting another knock, another text, a phone call from Julian saying something happened. Instead, it was just the sound of a key in the lock. And then Damien walked in. He looked like hell. Shirt wrinkled, hair a mess, skin too pale, eyes sunken. Not red from crying, he wasn't the crying type, but raw in a way I'd never seen before. He closed the door behind him and just stood there. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. He dropped his keys on the counter. His phone followed. Then his jacket, like he was shedding pieces of himself. And finally he looked at me. I didn't touch him. The words came out flat. Not defensive. Not angry. Just tired. I went to his place. I stood outside. I saw the lights on. I knew he was home, he said. He ran a hand through his hair. I didn't knock. I didn't go in. I didn't do anything. Congratulations. You managed not to assault someone, I said. His jaw clenched, but he didn't lash out. Didn't rise to it. I wanted to. I know. Silence again. He walked over to the kitchen table and sat across from me. No bravado. No posture. Just Damien, raw, exposed, unraveling at the seams. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I stared at him. He looked down at his hands. I wanted you back so badly I forgot what you were. What am I? I asked quietly. Human, not mine. Not a thing to control. Just someone who trusted me, he said. And you broke that. He nodded. Slowly. Like it physically hurt. I keep thinking about the night at the hotel. How you looked when I saw you with Julian. Like something inside you had already died. He said. I didn't respond. Because he was right. He leaned forward. Elbows on the table, voice rough. You have every reason to hate me. I do. And yet you came back. You gave me no other choice, right? He nodded again. Didn't flinch. And then, finally, I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. His voice dropped. But I can't lose you again. He looked at me then. Not like a CEO. Not like a man used to getting what he wants. But like someone standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if I'd pull him back or let him fall. I didn't say anything for a long time. Then I stood up. Walked around the table. He didn't move. I sat beside him. Close but not touching. I'm still angry. I don't know if I'll ever stop being angry, I said. I don't want you to stop. I'm still scared of you. He closed his eyes. And some days, I don't even know where I end and you begin. I whispered. His hand twitched like he wanted to reach for me. But he didn't. He knew better now. And that terrified me more than anything else. Because it meant he was learning. And if Damien Cross was learning, then I might never get out again. Chapter 13, No Escape. Days pass. They blend. The apartment doesn't feel like a prison anymore. It feels like the only place I exist. Damien doesn't touch me without permission now. He asks, sometimes with words, more often with silence, reaching out slowly, like I'm something fragile. I let him, because fighting takes energy, because maybe I want to feel something, because at least when his hands are on me, I remember I'm real. We don't talk about that night anymore. Not the hotel. Not the deal. Not Julian. We don't talk about anything that matters. really. We just exist. Mornings start with coffee. Evenings end with silence. Sometimes he reads aloud from whatever book he's pretending to finish. I sit beside him and listen, my head resting against his shoulder like a person who belongs there, like someone who chose this. One night, he comes home later than usual, finds me curled up on the couch in his sweater, lights off, half asleep. He kneels beside me, brushes the hair from my forehead, and whispers, "I don't deserve you." I don't say anything, not because I agree, not because I forgive, but because I'm too tired to fight that truth anymore. The next morning, it rains, soft and slow, tapping the windows like a lullaby. I stand by the glass, watching the city blur. He wraps a blanket around my shoulders from behind, like he's done it 100 times before. His arms stay there, holding me still. Not tight, not forceful, just there. I could have left, I say, barely above a whisper. He doesn't respond. But I didn't. I know. I think some part of me wanted to see if you'd break. I did, he says. You just didn't notice. I turn my head slightly, just enough to see the edge of his face. And I ask him something I never thought I'd say. Are you happy now? His eyes don't move. His voice is so quiet it barely exists. No. We stand there in silence. Two ghosts wrapped around each other, pretending we still remember what it means to feel alive. I don't leave. Not the apartment. Not him. Not this. I stay. Because the door is open, but my mind isn't. Because freedom was a choice I unlearned. Because when you spend long enough inside a cage, the walls start to feel like arms. He kisses the back of my neck, and I whisper, "You win." He holds me tighter, and breathes, "No. I lost the moment I needed you." Epilogue, 1 year later. It's been a year since I came back. Since I stopped running. Since I stopped pretending I could ever really leave. The apartment looks different now. The walls are warmer. There's art on them, prints I picked, things I told myself were just decoration. But I know better. They're anchors. Small illusions of control that Damien lets me hold on to. He thinks it helps. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know anymore. We still sleep in separate rooms most nights. It started as a boundary, became routine. But sometimes, maybe once a week, I slip into his bed. I don't ask. He doesn't comment. I just lie down next to him, and he turns toward me like he's been waiting the whole time. He always pulls me in, always breathes a little deeper when I settle against his chest. And I always let him, because in those moments, the silence feels like a language only we speak. I don't work anymore, not because I can't, but because he won't let me. He says it's about rest, about peace. But I know what it really is. Every day I stay here, I become a little more his. And the terrifying part? It doesn't feel like losing anymore. Feels like safety. Sometimes, late at night, Damien will sit across from me on the balcony. No words, no masks, just him in a sweater, barefoot, watching the city lights. "I still have nightmares about you walking out," he told me once. "I still dream I did," I said. He didn't smile. He just reached out and touched my hand like it was the only thing tethering him to the earth. And maybe it was. This isn't love. Not in the way the world understands it. It's not healing. Not redemption. It's a quiet coexistence. A gravity we stopped fighting. A surrender stitched together with shared silence and damaged loyalty. And I've accepted it. Not because I had to. Not because he forced me. But because somewhere along the way, he became the only version of home I could remember.